Hey guys, back with another MapleStory video here. This time, sorry, a little late on the post. Was away for the Martin Luther King weekend and didn't have time to post content. But here is my last week's run of Lotus. This was tried a different strategy this time. Started off in the bottom right corner. Didn't give anyone specifically echo, so it allowed me to synchro when I wanted to. So I didn't use it right off the bat. I ended up using it basically when benediction fell, and that allowed me to maximize my uptime in this beginning phase of phase one, not moving too much regardless anyway. So it allowed me to just maximize synchro for a longer duration. And my damage kind of surprisingly wasn't much different, to be honest. In this first phase, you'll see at the end that my DPM in this phase one was actually right on par with my previous runs, even though I held synchro right there kind of 10 seconds ago, right before around 45-second mark. And you'll see my first minute DPM is about where I was previously, my previous PR. And this run was actually, in my opinion, my best DPS run because it was near my PR record. It was still above 44 bill DPM. My previous PR was right below 45, but this was a much longer fight, near 9 minutes. So it means that my DPS was more consistent and my peaks were, pretty good. And I was consistent across the board. I didn't die again, so that really helps. And you'll see my charts are what, is as good as it gets, in my opinion, on my Paladin. Just with my current cap situation, I can't do much more than I am. So, which is why, one of the reasons why I wanted to test out after this, test out Party EXP and EXP Hypers, switching both of them, just to see if my damage drops off that much. Because since Paladins did get a lot of physical damage percent buffs, physical attack percent buffs, all of these things during remaster, it's interesting to see if my damage stays right on par with what it used to be, even when I switch over, when I lose 15% final damage and 20% physical damage from level 20 hypers. But you see right here, my synchro is about to fall, 2.5 minutes left, so I had it a little later than I normally would. Didn't line up perfectly with my hammers, but still, trying to do the best I can, surviving. There was pretty good portal management here. I think it lined up perfectly where I was able to kind of get up and down as quickly as possible. Right here, you see, didn't spend too much time on the platforms. We held benediction until phase 2 right here, which is why a few people died, because I don't think they were expecting it. And so not really a problem phase 1 wise. We still finished with 7 deaths, a really good time for us overall. And then now we pop benediction right here, and then I'm going to pop synchro when it comes back off a cooldown, and phase 2 is going to go as good as it gets, right? We're going to minimize knockbacks and maximize damage. And one of the things that we actually changed that really helped us a ton was we incorporated Shell. You can see Shell is on cooldown, is being up right now. And it just allows us more time immunity, right? So Shell in phase 2 and phase 3 is crucial because you basically guard all the attacks that, the wire attack, you take less damage from HP scaling skills. So like the trains and the buses that come flying down, and it actually helps. We try to time it after benediction. So, when all of our cooldowns are up, we're still trying to maximize DPS. And for me personally, I liked it because as the aggro, taking a lot of the wire attacks, it just minimized, just a few less knockbacks and all cures and things like that, just allowing me to maximize my DPS, and which is, I think, one of the reasons why I was able to consistently do damage close to my PR, even with a longer fight in this run. And so here we have our first purple orb phase, 5 minutes in. Of course, that's a huge factor in DPS as well, and why our run wasn't as quick as our previous ones, our best runs, but DPS was really good. Our Ice Lightning Mage came to play today and was really competitive with me. I think he was, right neck and neck for most of the run. He just had a few unfortunate deaths toward the end that kind of allowed me to pull away. But overall, the team played really well. Again, 7 lives going into phase 3 allowed our Phantoms to go back to full DPS mode and not have to keep up, their res or their TL, and so it just allowed faster times overall. So 4 minutes left. We have a platform phase coming right here. We're going to stun it up, not a problem. And we actually do end up getting a platform phase in the next rotation before my stun is up. So we end up having to take the platform, and we end up actually wiping, I think, because we weren't paying attention, and we ended up getting hit by the platform as it fell, and we weren't able to get on top of it, right? It disappears if it doesn't fall to the ground. So right here, all of our cooldowns are back up, Benediction is up, and we're just pumping out DPS. This is kind of where Paladins, pull away, especially, in this run, this 7-minute mark-ish. I think I did around 60 bill DPM. You see the platform right there is falling. I just popped Synchro. And then, some people were looking for the platforms there, didn't know what to do, and ended up wiping. And all of the support classes that have some sort of dark sight, the Phantoms, dark sight, Synchro, whatever, were able to survive and res us, not an issue. And we only lost 1 life there. So that was, one of our bugaboos, I guess, per se, kind of unfortunate things that happened. But overall, at the end of the day, the lives, the DPS, the time wasn't really affected too much. You see we have Shell up right now, so that's why I'm guarding all of these attacks. You see, and of course Purple Orb phase comes up, and I'm not too sure. I don't think it immunes the Purple Orb phase, but it does allow, like I mentioned, I was guarding all those wire attacks if you watch it back, and that allows us maximize DPS. So 8 minutes in. Now we're going to clear in about just under 9 minutes, so our team did really well. This is sort of our baseline, in my opinion. If we play really, everyone does their part and does DPS and doesn't die. We've been consistently getting around, sub 9 minutes, which is awesome. And we really have a lot of people improving their gear, progressing, getting more cap and things like that. And it really makes it more competitive. DPS charts at the end of the day, you'll see a lot of people were really close in the charts, moving forward from first page to second page, from podium, things like that. So great run overall, no drops for anyone. I think no primals, nothing like that. It is to mention that, my charts are pretty consistent right there. You can see, except for that first minute, everything is kind of on par with my previous PRs, my previous runs. So really proud of the consistency. And just being able to consistently do damage, in the low 40s. But again, this is with Boss Rush Potion. And so now we're going to get into Mulong. This is sort of my addiction, even though I haven't been playing it that much just because it requires so much buffs. But this was me getting to floor 45 and actually, well, you'll see at the end. But this is floor 44. I usually pop all my cooldowns from floor 37 moving forward, so I have it to get to 43 as quickly as possible. And I've learned from a lot of really good players that this is the best strategy, to be honest, just because it's a DPS race. Floor 45 is huge, and you need every bit of second. You can't be saving cooldowns and things like that, or big cool, especially as Paladins with their Echo. Can't be saving that for anything. You have to use it as quickly as possible, get to these endgame, these last 2 bosses, and just try to chunk out as much DPS as possible. Now, one of the things that I tried to focus on was rotating my res and my Synchro for the purple bomb ability. And you'll see that I used my res already and my Synchro is back up, so I'm in a good place. You see, this is the bomb I'm talking about right there. Use my Synchro, and just allows me to immune that damage, which is unavoidable unless you have Hero's Will or Will of Urda. Use it preemptively. You can't use it after the bomb is attached to you. Once the bomb is the symbol is up, you cannot dispel it. So that's why we have to save my all cures. And you saw I had a little space right there in the purple full map clearing spot to survive that. But that's why I need to rotate my res and my Synchro appropriately to navigate those bomb attacks. And one of the things that I tried to pay attention to for 45 was not to get stuck into the corners as much as possible, because when that full map clearing ability happens, a lot of the times I get stuck in left corner, for example, and the only opening is on the far right. So right here I use my res for that purple bomb phase, and I'm going to clear it 44 right here. I think the time was about, just over 8 minutes left, so I was told that's pretty close, but my real issue was I ran out of fevers. I wasn't able to maximize my DPS, and I had unfortunate things at the end that made it a lot tougher to clear. I ended up having my Sanko right there for the DR, so just maximizing DPS while my cooldown's Echo was still up, and I was feeling confident. I thought that I had enough DPS to clear it as long as I didn't get one-shotted, basically. So I was trying to avoid damage as much as possible, taking the time to outrange some of his attacks, avoid the corners, and trying to maximize my blast range and stun right there on the DR, and just trying to maximize, not take any chances, right? Outranging that front attack right there and outranging that skill. And so really, for me, it was just making sure I thought that I had enough DPS, make sure I threaten up, have something for DR, whether it's res, synchro, or stunning the DR, so I could maximize my DPS, and just positioning, right, back and forth. Sometimes I would dash through, sometimes I would jump over. And so, 6.5 minutes, looking pretty solid. I think I was just waiting for my cooldowns to come up right there. I have synchro for that DR, checking my cooldowns right there. So Echo, Weapon Aura, all those things are going to come back up. And so I'm going to have pretty much two rotations, I think maybe 3 of Echo right there. So Echo and Weapon Aura, hammers pop. I'll probably have 10 seconds at the end of the fight to burst it down. But it's looking, this is a grind. Everyone that gets the floor 45, stun the DR, right? I don't think I stunned DR. So that was a misplay on my part. I just stunned just to stun to maximize my uptime with my cooldowns. And so I didn't have a stun for DR, but I still have res, so it's not a huge deal. I still at least have an option for DR right here. You see I pop res, and just trying to maximize uptime and outrange all of his kind of front attacks, like that attack right there. That attack right there has a certain range that hasn't changed through all the floors of Mugong. But right here, nothing for DR because I messed up my stun. So had to wait that out. That was costly DPS uptime while my cooldowns are up. And to be honest, that's sort of what makes or breaks floor 45 at this point. Right there, I just popped my Synchro just to maximize DPS. DR came up anyway, so it worked out. But I think if there's anything to improve on for me, you'll see at the end how close this was to a clear. Spoiler alert, I didn't clear it. I was basically 1 to 2 attacks away, and it was a tilter for sure. I thought I had it. I maybe played a little bit too passively, but I feel like I just, right there, I wasn't attacking a lot. I just felt like I misjudged my DPS, how much I needed, and I thought I was on a good time, right? 4 minutes left, 50%. So stun the DR. I think I got it on that one. And some DRs, some stuns in this run, I was late to use, so I actually stunned and didn't. The damage reflex still went off. So a little bit misplays on my part. Of course, you can tell, I'm trying to position and reposition back and forth to avoid, taking damage. And I think I could have played it a little bit more aggressive and aggro. But it is what it is, learning experience. This was obviously the farthest I've ever gotten floor 45. I've gotten here a few times, but died to a few misplays. It's just a grind. You'll see basically 8 minutes of not. If you mess up one time, you get one-shotted, right? So, and then you have to have the DPS on top of it to actually clear. It's not fun. It's not. I mean, it's nice to clear. I want to clear it once, but overall, I don't know if I'm going to have the DPS when I reroll to hypers of party XP and EXP to do it, unless I play a little bit more aggressive. And anyone knows this is a full set of buffs every single run, especially when you get to this point. You see right there, I missed the DR, so I saw it and I knew I was late, and so I just had to hold off. I overlapped my res and my stun right there just to maximize DPS. And that's kind of the name of the game, right? Like, I don't have an option for this DR right here. And so, precious seconds are being taken away of not doing any damage while my Echo and Weapon are up. So just kind of things here and there easily could have been the difference between a fail and a clear. But overall, it's just fun, fun to watch, fun to attempt. Sanko's up right there. So a little bit of maximize my DPS. And I'm thinking, look, I got 140 left on the timer. It should be easy clear, right? And that's the thing about Paladin I think people don't understand is how burst heavy we are, right? Everyone looks at guild content, right? 60-minute fights, right? Of course, Paladins are top tier, probably right up there with DBs, Blasters, Dawn Warriors as far as 60-second burst. But after that, it craters, right? We do barely any damage at all. And I think I overlapped my stun and my res there again. So a huge misplay, and you're going to see that's all the difference here. But you see my cooldowns are down. I don't do any damage. And of course, damage reflect right here. Couldn't do damage there. And damage reflect is going to come back up again in a little bit. So 2 damage reflects that I wasn't able to do damage in this last minute of the fight, right? So right here, I have nothing for it because of that overlap of stun and res. And so precious seconds taken away. And, I'm going to have Synchro at the end, but it's just not like right here. I just pop Synchro, 20 seconds, just stand there, do DPS, and you think I'm going to get it. It's going to be close, and fevers, missing stuns, res, things like that. Echo comes up, weapon aura, and literally it's going to be 1-2 more hits, and I would have cleared it, but Tilter didn't get done, and had to settle for Floor 44. But a fun time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.